was a fan of Hellboy in the comics, and I liked what Del Toro and Ron Perlman did with Hellboy 1. Unfortunately, I was not a fan of Del Toro's second Hellboy film. A lot of my friends and family were. I was felt like I was left out in the cold where I just not enjoyed Hellboy 2. Now, when I heard they were making a new Hellboy, this time starring David Harbour from Stranger Things as Hellboy and directed by Neil Marshall, he's known for movies like Doomsday, Dog Soldiers, The Descent, horror, graphically violent horror films. I thought this will be right up my alley because, Hellboy in the comics can be graphic, it's rough, violent, silly, and this movie seemed to play through those elements. Now, to be honest, I wasn't a really big fan of the first Hellboy trailer. It didn't really do it for me, but the second trailer, when that was released, it sold me. And I thought, this is what Hellboy should feel like. Now, going into this, just remember, it's based on the comic book. Dialogue is going to be silly, it's going to be a little corny, and this is a definitely hard R film. A lot of swearing, graphic violence, it's all there. It plays on Neil Marshall's strong points as a director, the horror and action elements. Now, it's getting scathing reviews by critics, and a lot of people aren't going to it, which is too bad because it's a really fun romp through the world of Hellboy. I felt it gives the comics it brings more of the tone of the comics to the screen than Del Toro's did, and I feel this is a good representation of the character itself. It's definitely not for everyone, and at times the pacing seems a little off in the editing department. It feels like it jumps around a bit too much, but you just sit back, enjoy the ride, eat the popcorn, turn your brains off for 2+ hours. It's a little over 2 hours, and you'll find you'll actually be enjoying the ride that Neil Marshall and crew bring you on. Del Toro and Perlman were going to get back together to do Hellboy 3, but I guess that wasn't in the cards. Neil Marshall decides he was going to step in and reboot the franchise and start from scratch, which I think is a good idea. It would have been weird for Marshall to step in and continue the franchise that Del Toro started. I like where Neil Marshall's going with this. He's noted for movies like Doomsday, Dog Soldiers, of The Descent, so he's at home in horror action. And this fit the tone, I feel, of the comics more than Del Toro's movies. That being said, this film is not perfect. It definitely has pacing issues, and that was my biggest complaint with the movie, was the pacing of it. I felt the editing style had the pacing all over the place. And normally that's a big no-no for me, but I was having so much fun. I was so invested in this version of Hellboy that it didn't bother me. I loved what they did with the film. I love the characters they portrayed. The acting was great. The score was good. I loved the use of different styles of music throughout the movie. I thought that fit. Normally that's also a no-no for me. I feel like tonal shifts in music really can take you in and out of the movie at certain times, but this, I guess, just worked. Is this movie for everyone? No, it's not. It's definitely a hard R. It's very graphic, very violent, and, it's corny and cheesy, just kind of like the comic is. I give this movie a 4 out of 5, and I think it's a definite C in the theater. I think it should be experienced on the big screen. My only downside with the version I saw, I don't know if it was the movie or if it was the projection, but I thought it was very dark. There was a lot of scenes I couldn't see, and that's normally with a 3D film. This wasn't in 3D, and I'm glad it wasn't, because I probably wouldn't have been able to see half that film. And at times there was a lot of action at night or in the dark, and I found it a little bit hard to see. I'm going to chalk it up probably to the projection bulbs. Probably weren't set right. But if you've seen it or are going to see it, let us know in the comments. Let us know what you thought of the film, and if you think they should have carried on with Del Toro's Hellboy 3, or do you think it was a good idea that they went ahead and rebooted it. Ciao.